So Cody did a bad thing to me. And I can tell what's worse, I think, is that he was clearly excited about the bad thing he had done to me because he texted me at like 3 o'clock. He's like, "Oh yeah, you good for the episode tonight?" And I'm like, "He never does this. I'm always texting him." And I'm just like, yes. And like he's clearly very excited to have made me watch this movie that I hate.
All fairness, this makes up for, I don't know. There's probably a list.
You've hurt me in a very particular way. I cannot. This movie is awful. So,
Sometimes you need that.
eh, no one needed this. I'm actually surprised it didn't fail worse at the box office. It made 58.2 million off a $30 million budget. That's almost a profit.
It's almost a profit, but like one of the things I think we've talked about before on the podcast is brand name recognition, and a lot of it was probably used because they attached the Dragon Ball
Yeah, that's
name
pretty much
to
all
the
it.
movie.
This is literally just
And I
like
mean,
yeah, hey son, that Dragon Ball you like is in the theater. You want to go watch it? That's all you made. That's all the money you made. That's worth $60 million apparently. Just shy of. We're reviewing Dragon Ball Evolution, by the way. Welcome to Kyle and Cody's Called Cinema Cast. I'm Kyle, the sad one this week.
yeah, it's a definite change of pace here.
Yeah. 2009 film starring Justin Chatwin, Emmy Rossum, Jamie Chung, and Chow Yun Fat. Directed by James Wong, the guy who's famous for a couple Final Destination movies. Terrible choice. I actually was looking through like the reduction just before we started, and was like, you might have noticed that Cody might have noticed I was a bit quiet, and it was just because I was like looking at the list of like better directors that like had to turn this film down. It's just like first choice was Stephen Chow. He does a bunch of kung fu movies. He's like a Hong Kong director. I don't know any of I don't none of them are like the best movies ever or like any I don't know if they're everyone's favorite movies, but they seem serviceable enough. He certainly seems qualified to direct like a Dragon Ball movie though, and he's like a big fan. And then they were like, "Oh yeah, let's ask Robert Rodriguez." He turned it down. Mark AZD, don't really know him, and Zack Snyder were all offered this and didn't take it. Instead, James Wong took it, and James Wong did a bad job. The writer also shares a bit of blame. Ben Ramsey, he's out of the business right now, but this is admitted he's like apologized for this at least. So I'll accept his remorse. Your apology is accepted, Ben. I think Wong did the final draft though,
Mm-hmm.
but he just was Ben Ramsey just wasn't into it. Apparently, there's been like some interviews about this. He's been out of the industry for 10 years, so it's easy enough to come by. This movie's basically irredeemable. There's maybe like one good casting choice in the entire movie. Yeah, it's just making sure I got the right guy.
So just a callback to an earlier episode we did. James Wong also directed the 2006, or didn't direct it. He wrote the 2006 Black Christmas movie,
Oh
and he
yeah,
was also
that
a
was a thing.
producer.
Yeah.
I don't know. One of these days, I'm gonna learn what a producer actually fucking does, but today is not that day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Chow Yun Fat plays Master Roshi, and he's decent in the role. And he's probably the best cast character in the entire movie. June Park's probably an all right Yamcha. That works, I think.
I don't think it does.
I mean, Yamcha's not a very good character either, so it's kind of like he's like the least popular member of the Z Fighters, so he maybe ranks above like Chaozu in like the main cast. They don't include any of the talking animals, probably because they didn't want to spend the money on it. Oolong and Poir aren't in this movie. They were. This movie's adapting the first parts of the first. I'll say the first and fourth Dragon Ball arcs, and maybe bits of the second one, but yeah, it's doesn't do that particularly well. The villain in this is King Piccolo, played by James Marsters, known for he's on a bunch of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think he's a villain in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Just like a bunch of schlock, really.
Yeah, he's been acting since 99 or 92, I guess.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So, and television stuff. So,
Emmy Rossum is an okay Bulma. This movie doesn't service anyone very particularly well. Just like Goku's played by a white guy in this, which is not an like a weird thing. I mean, he is an alien, but like it's not helped by the fact that like Justin Chatwin is not like a legendary actor. Like his biggest thing is like he was in Shameless for 3 seasons as like a main character.
yeah, so was Emmy Rossum though. Like she was arguably in there for 8 seasons, but like still like Justin Chatwin and Emmy Rossum were actually a couple within Shameless. They weren't a couple here, and I'm kind of glad that they didn't go that route. But I mean, like Chi Chi's kind of just sidelined in this movie.
Yeah, and she is in the show too, but it's a little more egregious here, I think. Like it's one thing in the show where like she's introduced as a child, or in like the comic and the show where like she's introduced as a child who's like living with her dad and like disappears for several arcs and then reappears when she's like well below the power curve and she just marries Goku then. Here she's like she could be in on the action here, but she's not. She gets a fight scene and then gets left behind for the climax of the film. So I'd say it's actually more egregious here. I mean, which I mean, not to say the show is particularly great, but I'd argue like you could argue like, oh well, Chi Chi's not really that's not really her personality, as she's not a fighter per se, so it's not like she's not obligated to be like a big martial arts character. But yeah, American Dragon Ball movie, very bad. It's what you'd expect. It's from the grand failed amounts of traditions of them like making American versions of anime movies and most of them turning out terrible. Like the only Japanese properties have like been made into like that have had like good American remakes are like obviously Seven Samurai and The Ring. I don't know. Is there another example?
Maybe some of the I don't know. Okay, so did Godzilla originate in Japan,
Yeah,
or did
yeah,
he just straight up attack
yeah.
Tokyo?
Oh, I suppose the American Godzilla movies are pretty good, but some of them,
I
but
don't know.
yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say is like if you're
not the
gonna have
2000
giant
one.
fighting monsters, like
Yeah,
it's not exactly like hard, except for Rampage. Rampage did really horrible, and I don't know why I dislike that movie so much. I think it's based because of there's so little backstory within Rampage that made the game fun. You're just a monster who's destroying cities, and then the movie came along and it's like, hey, why don't we add like 2 hours of exposition to
I actually
this
like
game of
Rampage.
monster smashing buildings? Yeah, but like,
I liked it quite a bit.
is this coming from somebody who watched a movie and was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense," or somebody who's just like, "I wanted to destroy some buildings
Yeah,
and try
that's
and get
fair.
a high
I
score"?
guess. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I never
I'm
played the
coming at it
Rampage
from
game.
a different angle. Oh, it's great.
So yeah, couple big notable differences from the source material. Goku is aged up. like a lot. He's like 10 in the original series when they meet him in the first arc, which I don't object to them aging him up. I think you can still do a lot of the Dragon Ball story if Goku's like a teenager or whatever. You maybe can't do all of the same jokes because there's a lot of like in the original first arc of Dragon Ball. There's a lot of, we'll call it lewd humor that only works because like Bulma's the eye candy girl and Goku's a child, which can interact with that in a humorous way, which is just a thing. It's not always the best humor, like most PC humor necessarily, but it is interesting. And I think you could still do jokes with like Goku, like maybe not the same jokes, maybe, but definitely jokes can happen where Goku's older. Like I think they don't do any of that in the big thing in the source material is the start of Dragon Ball is when Bulma comes up to Goku's house and comes to try to collect his Dragon Ball, which he's using as a shrine for his grandfather's tomb, I guess you'd call it. And she just comes, takes him along on an adventure to find some Dragon Balls. And yeah, it's an interact, and they're the main characters of the original. In this, Goku's a teenager who goes to regular school, which is not a thing Goku ever did. Yeah, Goku is very uneducated. While you were in school, he was
I don't think he did.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't think he ever gets educated. Like he
No, yeah.
literally just lives off like Kung Fu Championship tournament prize money and like
That and he's a farmer.
that's about it. Is he a farmer though?
Yeah, he has like in like later stuff you see that he has like a tractor and whatnot. I think especially if like you watch Super, that becomes especially clear because he has like a tractor and stuff and does like farming and
Yeah, but
sells at like a
you
farmer's
think
market.
he's a Super Saiyan?
Yeah, also.
The fuck does he need a tractor for?
I mean, would you want to like dig through the dirt for a couple hours with your bare hands or
Yeah, but
whatever?
you're not gonna dig through you're not gonna dig through the dirt. What you're gonna do is you're gonna tie a plow to yourself and fly at maximum speed over a field, henceforth plowing it, and then just kind of fly over it at hyper speed and drop seeds into the ground. I don't know where I'm going with this. My point is he can fly.
But like you wouldn't do like the work of a combine by hand if you have any sort of choice.
Yeah, but you're not doing it by hand.
No,
You're
combine is
doing it
like
by like
harvesting stuff and like gather and like shucking it and whatnot. There's a lot of work to it. It's more complicated than
also
you realize.
like he's friends with the literal god of the universe in majority of like well, first of all, Piccolo, Kami, so
Yep.
he's friends with God, like, and he's like, I'm gonna be a farmer, like, do you think it's just a hobby thing? Like, does
Yeah.
he need
Well,
the money?
I mean, he needs some
Bulma's
money.
also like massively rich, and like this.
He's also too
Okay, like,
strong to like like compete in the martial arts tournaments anymore. Um,
oh yeah,
yeah.
no,
No.
he would like you'd have to like tone it down, but like
Yeah.
in theory, if anybody else was
It
competing
would
at
just
like
be like
a
him and
high level.
Vegeta going at it every
Yeah.
couple of years and like one of them getting the money. I imagine you might take some loans from Bulma occasionally because Bulma's super rich.
Also, like, I think I've said this before on the podcast. I don't know if this is literally a point anymore because, like, once again, you take a day off, you go gather the 7 Dragon Balls, wish for infinite money, and then let the Dragon Balls sit for a year. And the only downside you have to that situation is if like somebody comes in and murders your son or something. But even at that, your son just sits there for a year, and then you go bring him back with the Dragon Balls because
Yeah.
as soon as you have a wish granting dragon, anything else in life kind of becomes irrelevant.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. It becomes a little comically easy at some points, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so a lot of fan favorite characters aren't in this. Like Kami's not in it, Krillin's not in it. None of the other Saiyans are in it. The Piccolo that's in it isn't the Piccolo you're thinking of. It's Piccolo's dad. If you're not familiar with any of, if you the audience are not familiar with any of the original stuff, Piccolo is technically Piccolo Junior, and there's King Piccolo, which was the bad guy in Dragon Ball, the fourth Dragon Ball arc, or fifth, depending on how you count. I say fifth. No, yeah, it's fifth. Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, it's fifth. Actually, he's in the fifth arc. But yeah, it's different, and yeah, so a lot of fan favorite characters are in this, and they're trying to make this kind of feel like a bit of a Z movie, but like no amount of good jobs are done. I think an important thing to realize that like original arc of the first arc of Dragon Ball is just a comedy with action elements. The big fight scenes come later.
I always like to picture it as like a Goonie-esque like treasure hunt for the first like I don't know little bit, and then all of a sudden you get into like martial arts championships and stuff like that, and that's still kind of interesting. But like I don't know. Once again, I think one of the biggest issues is like 21st Century Fox bought out the rights to Dragon Ball early, and then they're like, "Oh wait, now that our rights are expiring, we need to like actually do something with this or we'll lose them." And I feel like that's kind of why we got this movie, but I'm not 100% certain on this. It just kind of feels like that's what happened.
Yeah, the first arc of Dragon Ball, it's very if you know what you're if you know your Dragon Ball, you'll know that a lot of stuff is like inspired from Journey to the West, and the first arc is very Journey to the West esque, in that you have the big guy with you have the little you have the guy with the monkey tail just kicking everything's asses, and occasionally he has to kick someone's ass in like a creative way. Like it's not obviously a ripoff or anything, far from it, but it's the most like delving into that setup. The finale of the first arc was they were dealing with this guy called Pilaf, who it's actually where they get the lady sidekick character from in this. Pilaf had a lady sidekick, though she's nothing like the sidekick in this movie. It's only comparison you make in that like, hey, this is the one female sidekick character who shows up in all of Dragon Ball. Unless you count like
Mhm.
Bojack, but that's neither here nor there. But they're nothing alike. That character, I forget her name because she's not important until like Super again. Is like she's in like a Russian coat and she shoots at things. But this lady's like very much a kung fu lady that has some
Also,
guns, but
like,
yeah.
if I remember correctly, within this, because it's probably been a few years since I've read at least like the original manga and Dragon Ball. Uh, there was Pilaf. There was this character Mai, I do believe is the
Yeah,
name, but I
Mai's who I'm thinking of.
might
Yeah.
be incorrect.
Yeah,
Um,
it's Mai.
and then they had like this ninja dog.
Yes. The Ninja Dog.
Am I correct? The
Yes.
Pilaf gang.
Yes.
Like, okay,
But yeah, the
yeah,
Pilaf
okay.
gang
No, I'm not
steals
insane.
yeah, the Pilaf gang steals the Dragon Balls from out under Goku's crew, and as they're summoning the Dragon Balls, Goku turns into a giant monkey, the Ozaru, and between dealing with that and narrowly avoiding Pilaf getting his wish to become immortal, become the king of everything on Earth, it's one of those. I don't know. I don't remember. It means the same thing. It's he wins, and that's the finale of the first arc. with like this revelation that Goku is the Ozaru, and kind of like if you're observant, you realize that like he's the guy that like he's the giant monster that had killed Grandpa Gohan. They don't do any of that in this movie, which we'll get to. You'll see the differences. But then the only other thing I'll mention is like the King Piccolo arc, which is the fifth arc of the original Dragon Ball No Z, and it takes place after a martial arts tournament, and it involves Piccolo gathering the Dragon Balls basically immediately, and and like using them to restore Piccolo's own youth, because he had been sealed away a long time ago and he's since broken out, but he's like aged 2,000 years, so he's like weak and scrawny, so he uses his Dragon Balls to get his youth back so he's stronger. And then him and Goku fight after a bit. But yeah, it's a pretty intense moment.
The Piccolo arc?
Yeah, the King Piccolo arc.
It's the final arc of this
No,
series, correct?
No,
No,
the
no, no,
Piccolo
no. That's
Junior
Kid
arc.
Piccolo.
Yeah, which is like
Yeah.
the
Okay. Yeah.
third tournament arc in the show, which we'll get to a difference there because that's a thing at the very end we'll talk about. But yeah, a lot of things are obviously changed. Like as you know, like as we've noted, King Piccolo had nothing to do with. We'll just go into the script. I'm just going to go into the plot because we've explained the source material. So we get a intro prologue where a disembodied voice explains to us what happened in the past with Piccolo getting sealed inside the Mafuba, and that his minion, the Ozaru, disappeared after he was defeated, which makes no sense already because Goku's the Ozaru, and that would make Goku 2,000 years old somehow. So that doesn't match up at all. No idea how that works. Yeah, nothing about this makes sense. I just cannot square it at all. And it's never explained anyway how Goku arrived 2,000 years in the future. I don't know, but it's strange,
I'm
weird.
pretty sure it actually does.
Does it?
I think somebody at one point in time, rather Master Roshi or Piccolo himself, starts giving some form of expedition that Ozaru has taken human form as Goku.
Yeah, but like, where was he between for the? He was sealed away 2,000 years ago, and what and like
Maybe
how did
yeah, okay.
yeah, that's my issue.
Like in the original Dragon Ball, they ended up sealing Piccolo away in a crock pot. Am I correct?
Yeah, the
Like a
Mafuba.
rice cooker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mafuba's basically a rice cooker, essentially. It's like you could describe it as that. Maybe it just looks. I don't know what a rice cooker looks like on top of my head, really. I've seen them. I just don't like have like an image of them, so that could just be like the joke.
Think think a crock pot, but
Yeah, I know.
smaller.
I know what it looks like, but I don't like have an image in my head of it. Like I couldn't like I just see them lying around occasionally. I don't. Yeah, it was a weird way to put that, but yeah.
Like what I'm saying is, why I brought that up, and I'm pretty sure this somewhere along the lines in like in the anime that the Mafuba like pot starts to leak, but like that doesn't really matter because this movie doesn't really follow any of that. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to give credence to the film for like maybe like one upping us, but I feel like they are just like, we are not giving you any form of explanation for this, and then just saying that to drive plot along. But
we're gonna explain the entire backstory of this 3 more times throughout the movie. So, but yeah, obviously they've changed some things up because it gets revealed a little later that Piccolo's out. He has not aged like he did in the comic. I can assume he escaped in a similar fashion. But yeah, that's a thing. we cut to the main movie, and we see Goku like sweating and like having tears come out of his eyes as he's like meditating. And we get like a big look at his big dumb stupid face, and he's like meditating on some ropes, and then he has like a sparring match with Grandpa Gohan, and they're doing some practicing. We get an instance of showing something called the Shadow Crane Strike. It's essentially like a mini Kamehameha, which in this movie is an airbending technique. Fuck, I
I
know.
don't know
Like,
why they needed to
no, yeah, no. It's like,
try and like
hey,
switch.
Avatar: The Last Airbender is popular right now. Let's just kind of rip them off for no reason, even though it doesn't make any sense, and that's not how the Kamehameha works. It's such reeks of I'm an executive and I'm basically going to write this movie because I saw a thing that was popular, and we got to copy things that are popular because I'm a businessman, and that's how you do business, is by figuring out how other people do smart things and then doing that into my business plan, even though I'm working in a creative industry and that's not how anything works. Because I can't, because it's not like you can just make the same burger every year. You need to make something different every time. And it's just cancerous little belief within like producer speak. I hate it. But yeah, that's a thing. They talk about the power inside, Ki, that's pretty standard for Dragon Ball, actually. No complaints there. Goku is talking about how he doesn't have any friends and that he's Grandpa says, "Oh, you're special," and he says, "No, I'm different." And it's like, "Teach me how to get the girl," which is like, I hate that. I hate this plot. I hate that they've turned this into a teen movie because that doesn't work for Goku. Goku does not do teen movie stuff. He's he doesn't like he stumbled into his marriage. He's not that kind of guy. He's basically asexual. If Chi-Chi hadn't to come around, he probably never would have gotten together with a girl. He's not into it. He's a fighter and that's it. He doesn't have I seriously don't think he has any of those urges of his own volition. It's just like a thing like, oh, Chi-Chi's nice and I like her and she wants me to do this thing and she wants me to help her make children, and that's a thing he does. I don't think he has those thoughts. It's just a weird thing.
I'd also like to point out that, like, what does the old fucking mountain hermit Grandpa Gohan know about getting the girl?
Fucking
Like,
nothing.
why is
He's
he
also Gohan's
asking?
the same thing.
Like,
Grandpa Gohan is no different. He's an old man that's fucking living in the middle of the forest as a fucking hermit, and Goku's the same way. He's like, that's like the familial connection there, basically. They're a bunch of weird little mountain kung fu guys that like wander in the forest, and like if Goku hadn't, if Chi-Chi didn't like him, he wouldn't be doing anything. I don't think, like, I think that's what a lot of people get weird about him. And also like I get this might be normal for a lot of anime protagonists. Like a lot of anime, like shonen anime protagonists are like little perverts, but Goku's not. He's like borderline one of the least so of that. He's more in the camp of like Monkey D. Luffy, in that he doesn't get love interests. He just doesn't do that sort of
Mhm,
thing. But Goku did end up stumbling upon one, and he's happy with it. But yeah,
sure.
I am so mad about it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It's like I hate these teen movies on like a regular base level, and like turning something I like into a teen movie is not going to endear me to anything. So this is just like making me so angry.
And also, I'd like to point out, like, one of the biggest problems I have with this movie is the fact that, like, Goku's getting bullied in high school is not something that would have, like, even flown in the original like manga.
No.
Like Goku would just like beat the fuck out of those kids and like not give a fuck because probably he's lived a very sheltered life up in the mountains
Yeah, no.
and like would just be like, oh,
If Goku got bullied, it'd be like in the way like, oh, he doesn't know what bad words mean. They'd like make fun of him for not knowing what
mhm.
like a lady part is or whatever. That's the sort of thing Goku would get bullied for, and he'd kind of be like, "Huh, what are those strange men talking about? They're saying weird words I don't understand." Yeah, they call him Giku, which I'm gonna call him for the rest of the movie because I don't like him. I'm gonna call him Giku for the rest of the movie. But yeah,
Like that wasn't even. I was gonna say that like that wasn't even like a very good original. These are like the lamest bullies I've ever
yeah,
seen in the
no,
history of like bullying.
no, we got to make it
They
into
should have
Spider-Man. You
bumped him up
understand?
a
We got to
little
make it
bit.
into Spider-Man because Spider-Man's popular, so we got to make some Spider-Man stuff. Yeah, yeah, so we'll throw that in with Avatar: Last Airbender, and that's what makes Dragon Ball good because those are the same thing. Because this is painfully reminiscent of like the bullying scene in like the original like Spider-Man. It's like that, and it's not. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that movie's
yeah.
way better, even to the point where like, oh, it's a whole car thing. Even though Goku doesn't need a fucking car, he can fly. That's the whole thing about superheroes is they can fly. They don't need cars. Like, really, Batman's the lame
And
one for having a car.
I don't think Goku can fly currently.
Yeah, no, they don't teach him to fly in this.
Master Roshi teaches him how to fly.
Yeah, he doesn't learn how to fly
Like
until
they
like
teach
the
him how to
Terminator attack.
jump.
Yeah. Yeah, he has like a super strength and can jump really high, but he's not like a. Yeah, so we get our first look at Piccolo. Makeup's really fucking lame. It's like high tier Power Rangers makeup. It's not becoming of like a proper like theatrical motion picture. And they show like his weird little airship, which is their attempt at like mimicking like Dragon Ball style, which this movie doesn't do a good job of. And granted, like it's maybe a mistake just to try to make Dragon Ball live action, but I think you can do it. I refuse to like say anything's unadaptable, but like it's a very weird throwing everything at the wall and somehow it's still cool style. Like you cannot make like a the visual style of Dragon Ball is like stuff that looks cool and like is complexly drawn, contrasted with like random silly stuff. Like it's like a complex motorcycle coming out of like a little Pokeball like pill thing, and also like there's fancy dumb like 50s ish technology, but inside it's like fancy cyberpunk stuff. It feels like a retro, like when you make like a modern record player, kind of when you're taking like an old style technology and putting that on the surface but making it really complex underneath. This is hard to explain, but it's not done terribly well in this. But like the original Dragon Ball has like Goku fighting a T-Rex. It's not exactly set in like regular real world. The planet's called Earth, but it's very different. It's more so done just so like,
Also,
yeah.
we didn't get to see Mare Dog, and I'm really disappointed in that.
You mean King Dog?
King Dog, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, technically,
The world of
no,
Dragon Ball
actually, I
is
think
ruled
you're
by a
correct.
dog who gathered the Dragon Balls at some point. That's another thing. Yeah, no animal people. That's another thing. No animal people. Not that they're like everywhere in the series, but they're around occasionally.
Also, never explained at all, I
Yeah,
don't
no.
think.
Nope, nope, never explained. The king of the world's a dog, and like no one else is. There's like one other werewolf in the entire series. Basically, everyone else is human or human looking. Yeah, so that's a whole thing. Piccolo annihilates an entire town to get a Dragon Ball, which is way more Dragon Ball Z than it is Dragon Ball. I actually think like that'd be more like it be more in like the breaking and killing everyone in there rather than like annihilating the whole town in like an explosion, which is what he does, which is a very like Dragon Ball Z move more than an original Dragon Ball move. But you could say this is trying to bring some of the Z aesthetic to Dragon Ball, which again, they're doing a bad job of because they're doing bad things. Next, we cut back to Giku, who's in class, and they're talking about a solar eclipse, which is there's a solar eclipse coming. And he's like, hey, what did, and like, Goku's not paying attention because he's perving on Chi-Chi, which is ugh, I hate that. I hate it so much. And
It,
they're just like, "Oh yeah, what would the ancient people think about solar eclipses?" And he's like, "Oh, well, the Nameks are going to come when solar eclipses come." And he's like, "What are the Nameks?" And like, this wasn't a thing. None of like no one at this point in the series knows what a Namek is. Even like Piccolo and Kami, who are Namekians, are like, yeah, I got sent to this planet as like a baby. I don't have a ton of knowledge about that. It's like, oh yeah, I guess I'm some sort of alien.
I was gonna talk about the fucking weird ass dream sequence.
Oh yeah, it's
Uh,
really fucking awkward.
Goku Goku has about fucking Chi Chi here, and it's like him and Chi Chi in like a rose field or some whack ass shit. Like
Yeah, and like it's a whole thing where
they're
like
like,
she's
we need
making I
to.
don't know. Ugh, I don't like it. I don't like it.
I don't know what the uh, writers were thinking, the director was thinking, the producer was thinking, the financial backers were thinking,
Because you see Cody, shonen protagonists are perverts, which is means that we have to have this shonen protagonist be a pervert, and that's a thing that's got to be in this movie because that's what's popular, and because it's popular, it's got to go in this movie. I don't care that none of it was in the original series and it was still popular, but it's popular, so it needs to go in. I hate it. I hate this so much.
I don't think I've like, okay, but like prior to this, I don't think I've ever seen like a TV show or a movie do like a whole, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute on this bit. Like,
Usually to like I've seen it done, but it's to, like it's cinematic language to to like symbolize that someone is like having like an unhealthy obsession with a girl. Like they do this sort of scenes, but they're
mhm.
always like so like it's very much like you're not supposed to be like rooting for this. It's just like at best it's like an excuse to get one of the actresses to like take most of her top off or something. It's like that sort of thing. It's not meant to be like this is a lot more reminiscent of that than anything.
I think a good example of this would be the pool scene
Yeah.
in Fast Times of Ridgemont High,
Yes, exactly that. That's what
where
actually kind of what I'm thinking of.
the female protagonist is stepping out of the shower, and it goes into this weird, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying, but like even at that, like that example is like 30 years predecessing this movie.
Yeah, it's very yeah, it's dated, but it's definitely like not appropriate for the character and like if you wanted to just like do an oh she's pretty, that's a 30-second shot. That's a 10-second shot maybe.
Hmm.
But yeah, this goes way over the top. That's way more going to that Ridgemont High example than anything. Goku after class, Goku uses magic powers to help Chi Chi get her locker unlocked, which is a thing. Goku's power level is like very inconsistent through this. Sometimes he does things in one shot, and then sometimes he like has a lot of trouble with them. Like he'll have trouble doing this later in the movie, and it doesn't make much sense.
uh
In the source
the
material,
power of horniness, Kyle.
yeah, yeah. In the source material, Goku's just like super powerful, and like the when he learns the Kamehameha, he just like sees Roshi do it and then like immediately mimics it to a lesser degree, but still does mimic it. I think like Roshi uses it
Hmm.
to like snuff out like a forest fire, and then Goku uses it to like topple a car over. So that's like
Yeah.
so yeah. Is how that first happens. But yeah, so this gets Giku an invitation to Chi Chi's party. Okay, that's a thing. Doesn't make any sense. I it's the only thing that's different is like I guess they do try to replicate the place where Chi-Chi actually lives, which is like Fire Mountain or something. What's Yeah, I'm gonna look this up because I forget.
I want to say it's Pantop Mountain.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm thinking of like the like translation is like Fire Mountain or something. Yeah, Chi-Chi's the princess of Fire Mountain, daughter of the Ox King of Fire Mountain. Ox King's not in this
Uh,
movie, but yeah, so
okay, but Furia upon Yama, literally meaning Mount Frying Pan,
yeah,
is a giant mountain ruled by the Ox King.
yeah,
So I am correct.
yep, yeah, you are.
Like I thought that it was funny because it was a play on like frying pan and like the mountains on fire,
Oh, and front
and
and
then
Pan's
like
what
Master Roshi is like,
and
I
Pan's
need
what Goku's granddaughter is named. That's cute.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You said Pan.
But yeah, I guess she's just generically like really rich in this. Like the house party they go to is like this fucking actual mansion. Yeah, so they basically know that their magic powers and whatnot. Goes back home, and Gohan's making some food. Grandpa Gohan's making some food out of chicken feet. Is this racism? Is this a racism that's happening here? I don't know.
I mean, it's not a racism.
Yeah, it's maybe. In the manga, they're like known for eating like large pieces of like comically large pieces of meat, which we do see
I
Giku
like to
eating a
think it
turkey
has a
leg
lot to
later, but
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that there's actual fucking dinosaurs
yeah, true.
running around this planet and nobody's acknowledging it because like there's been a couple of times I think when Gohan kills one of the dinosaurs when he's training with Piccolo that
Goku
he
kills
ends
one too,
up
I think.
killing and eating a whole entire Tyrannosaurus Rex, like,
Yeah.
but like that's kind of, I don't know
Dragon
how
Ball
many
is
anime Tyrannosaurus
Dragon
Rexes
Ball
you've
is
seen.
like my favorite kind of like D&D homebrew world where just like everything exists. And you can fight like an ancient demon one week and then fight a space alien the next. And I just like kind of love it. And you can just have whatever you want in it, and that's super cool. Because Akira Toriyama is a fucking great artist, and I love it. It's some
Mhm.
of my favorite art that exists is Akira Toriyama stuff. I gotta say,
Like, this is his early stuff, like, you kind of see, prior to this, he did, Doctor Slump, but, like, that's a whole different, universe. You can see his, style, like, shine, but, like, I think, Dragon Ball just has that, campy kid aesthetic that you don't see anymore after, like, you get a couple of glimpses of it in Dragon Ball Z, but
and Dragon Ball is very much one of those shows that like starts as a comedy and then like you learn to love the characters and like are cool with them when they get into like a dire situation. It's one of those type of shows, and it I don't think it lends itself to having like a big super dangerous arc like right up front. I think it does a disservice to a lot of things, but it can survive because Akira Toriyama's art style is like so endearing to a lot of things. I think that's why it managed to like you can put it halfway through into the West and it still works. So Giku leaves his house without telling Gohan. Oh yeah, and this in case this is confusing any people, uh, Goku's a guy who raised him is called Grandpa Gohan, and he is the namesake for Goku's son Gohan. But because Gohan's obviously not in this movie at all, we're just gonna like call him Gohan in this for brevity's sake. But it is Grandpa Gohan.
mhm.
Giku shows up to the party, and the bullies go to attack him because they try to shoo him off from the party, and he just jumps around, so they end up punching themselves and also wrecking their fancy sports car. which is cool, I think. I don't know there's much precedent for it in the source material, but whatever. But yeah, Chi has a talk with him. We cut back to Goku's house where the lady sidekick is attacking Gohan. They know they're looking for the Dragon Ball, but the Dragon Ball's not there. Gohan ends up getting eventually killed by Piccolo, who uses telekinesis to like crush the house, which is weird. Um, like Dragon Ball characters having bullshit superpowers isn't like outside the norm, but it's just a weird choice, I think.
What do you mean by bullshit superpowers? That's a weird choice.
Oh, I mean the Dragon Ball characters have all the superpowers. Like they can like duplicate themselves, they have telepathy, they can read minds, they can literally do everything. It's kind of like Superman. They can literally do anything.
Mhm. Like, what do you mean by, like, it's a weird choice, though? Like, it's a weird choice to kill Gohan with, like, telekinesis? Or,
Yeah,
like,
I mean like have
it's
them
a weird
actually
choice to...
fight or like have like Piccolo curb stomp him or something. It like curb stomp in the fight. I don't mean literally the curb stomp. I mean like a really one-sided fight. Like there's a lot of kung fu you could have done here. I suppose you can't do the really violent death scenes where that happen in Dragon Ball, but yeah. But
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
Also, like, the actor in this is really old.
Yeah,
Like, he's, like, 80. So, maybe don't give him high action fighting sequences that...
which is why he just get beat up. But anyway, Giku senses what's going on and goes back home to check. While he's doing this, he meets and while he's scattering through the wreckage, and he's buried Gohan. The next day, Bulma shows up, and she tries to get the Dragon Ball from him, but doesn't. But not for the reason that she doesn't get the Dragon Ball from Goku in the comics. In that she shot Goku in the center of the head and it just bounced off the bullet. I mean, in this they're just like, oh yeah, it's like if I wanted to kill you, you'd already be dead, sort of thing. And then he just ends up talking it out. And she talks about how she has a Dragon Ball tracker, which she calls like a Prometheum Ord tracker, which she's doing because her Dragon Ball went missing. Which, yeah, it's eventually understood that like Goku doesn't have the Dragon Ball she had because the Dragon Ball she had 5 stars, and Giku's Dragon Ball. Also, Goku's Dragon Ball has 4 stars, so that's a thing. So yeah, they have a whole thing. We get to see a bit of I'll call it the power pole, but it doesn't do any of the power pole stuff. The power pole is like Goku's signature weapon from the original Dragon Ball. It's like a bow staff that can like extend as far as you need it to, but it's just a regular bow staff
Also,
in
like,
this.
I think
Go ahead.
this is such an inaccuracy that pisses me off throughout this movie. Okay, so Goku goes to the party, he brings the Dragon Ball with him, correct? Okay, so how did Piccolo find him?
Well, Piccolo doesn't
Like, can
find
Piccolo
him.
just sense Dragon Balls?
Well, no, Piccolo didn't find him. He went to the Gohan's house because he knew that I guess he knew that Gohan would have the Dragon Ball, so he went to the place where it was, but he doesn't know where Goku is, so he just went there, didn't find it, so he figured he'd find it later. But yeah, he knew where it was, he didn't know like where the physical thing was. It's like I know like it's like if I went looking for you, I'd go looking at like the place where you live, but you could easily not be at the place where you live.
But that's doesn't really make
Yeah.
any sense actually at
It's
all.
not really
Like,
explained where he finds the Dragon Ball, why he knows where the Dragon Balls are, but it's just I think he was just going
mhm.
off like this is where the Dragon Ball was like being held.
Yeah, but like I know in Dragon Ball it's originally stated that Master Roshi and did Gohan not help seal away the original Piccolo within the series with the Mafuba?
I can't remember, honestly. I can't
Okay.
remember who did the Mafuba in the original Mafuba in the original. I don't remember if that was I don't know if that was clarified even.
I know that Master Roshi knows how to do the
Yeah,
Mafuba,
people know how to do it. I
and I
just don't know
do
that they
believe
were the ones who do it. Um and I think in this, and I think in the original, it actually costs you your life to do it. So they didn't. So Roshi and Gohan didn't do it originally, or
huh.
Roshi or Gohan, whatever. But yeah, so they're talking. Like Giku and Bulma are talking. Bulma is a billionaire technology heiress who works for a company called Capsule Corp. And she is taken it, and in the original, she had taken on it as her hobby to go look around for the Dragon Balls as like a teenage fun quest that she was doing as a teenager. In this, she's just out to get back her stolen property, which is different. Anyway, Gohan had told Giku with his dying breath that he should go to Paozu to find Roshi, which I don't think makes sense because Paozu's the name of the tuna, which are the tuna which are around where Goku lives, not where Roshi lives. I don't think. I don't know that there are Paozu tuna where Roshi lives, so I don't know why Roshi would be in Paozu. Unless Paozu tuna are like a big ecological thing. I don't know much about tuna. But anyway, they need to find Muten Roshi. We're introduced to this movie's version of capsules, which in the original is just like you throw a capsule, it like puff of smoke, and then you get your motorcycle and whatever. In this is a transformer, which is dumb and boring. So yeah, they eventually find Roshi, and they find this movie's version of Kame House, which is the place where Rasta Roshi lives, which is a two-story brick building located in the middle of a crater, which is interesting, but it's just not accurate to the book, which is fine. But like, at least they did something interesting with it this time. It's not a boring decision. I'll give you that. There's no turtle on the island though, so yeah. Roshi's turtle is not seen in this movie. His turtle buddy. So yeah, they meet up with Roshi. Roshi and Giku end up fighting for a little bit, but they end up touching base after a little bit. They explain what's happening. They go check on some stuff. They meet up with Chi Chi at the place where she trains, I guess, because this is the thing she does. But yeah, they meet up with Chi Chi and they talk for a little bit just so she can get some more screen time. I think. Then the guys have to go through a desert, which is where they meet Yamcha when they fall into one of Yamcha's pit traps, which actually works. Like I actually was surprised they ended up actually stuck in this hole because this is like in the original story, like they get stuck in this hole and like immediately jump out because they're superhumans, and it'd be like a whole thing. But yeah, so they're actually stuck, except Roshi who just like jumps out later. But yeah,
Yes, which is so fucking stupid.
yeah, yeah, it is.
Like, Roshi waits, like, 5 hours, and then eventually he's like, "Yeah,
Absolutely.
fuck this," and then jumps out of this hole, and is like, "Yeah, enough playing around," or something, yada, 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 and it's like, why didn't you do that 5 hours ago? And don't tell me it's because you knew there was a fucking Dragon Ball here, because that's clearly not what fucking happened.
But yeah, there's a Dragon Ball in the pit trap, and they get Yamcha to help them dig out the Dragon Ball in a promise of future payment. Also, like he has a him and Bulma have a thing in the original Dragon Ball. It plays out very differently in this, which is fine. In the original, they do a whole thing where like Yamcha can't speak to girls, which is lame. Whatever. I don't mind them changing that. That's perfectly fine. Puar's not in it, so there's no floating cat accompanying Yamcha. They cut out all the funny animal creatures in this. So that's all cut out, and it's boring. It sucks. We get to see a scene where Piccolo is going to send some monsters after Giku and the team, which is like, oh yeah, this will be fun. he's gonna do that thing from the manga where he like spits out eggs and they're hatched like giant demon monsters. And then, but instead, he just like they just draw some blood on him in like a very dumb way, and then send like just putties from Power Rangers after the team, which is not how Dragon Ball movies work. You're supposed to be Dragon Ball movies work like this. You send there's the bad guy, and then the bad guy sends like 3 guys after the heroes. They send the strong one, the pretty one, and the one with the strange powers. And then they fight, the side characters, and then Goku goes to beat up the monsters. But no, we can't do that in this. That'd be too interesting. So we just get some generic putty fights, which they fight on their way to get the next Dragon Ball. Like none of the look.
Also, like in the original,
Yeah, go ahead.
the original, in the Dragon Ball manga, there's 3 of them, and their names are Drum, Tambourine, and Cymbal.
Yeah, and also they have a weird gimmick too. They have like gimmicky names. It's like that. There's like a sort of like, this isn't Dragon Ball, but there's like like it can be like Salt, Pepper, and Paprika or something like that. Is what the minion guys are called. Look, the elephant in the room is that a lot of the Dragon Ball movies aren't good. There's maybe like 2 good ones, like 2 actually good ones that like stand on their own, and then the rest are like, okay, this has some fight scenes in it, but the rest of them aren't bad. But this is like the worst of like, yeah, this is the worst. There's maybe like an animated special that's like not very good, but that's like slightly above this. But if you want good Dragon Ball movies, I'd go with like, there's maybe some of the I don't know, one of the original Dragon Ball movies is good. I haven't seen them. But World's Strongest is a good Dragon Ball Z, is like a cool Dragon Ball Z movie. And then there's Super Broly, which is pretty damn good. That's a cool movie if you want good Dragon Ball movies. But also just watch the series. The series is fun. It doesn't always like there's a lot of gross humor with Roshi at times, but other than that, it's kind of okay. It's decent. It can be funny sometimes. But yeah, we go back to the martial arts temple, and Roshi gets a hold of the a Mafuba like jar, so that he can try to seal Piccolo away, because he figures Piccolo is not ready. Which, I don't know, was true in the story too. It took a bit for Goku to like train up and become strong enough to beat Piccolo, and he only barely wins too. So that's a whole thing. Chi ends up trying to help Goku master the Kamehameha by saying that if every time Goku does a successful Kamehameha, he can stake 1 step closer to her. That's like, fuck this movie. I hate this. This is not how this relationship dynamic works in the original source material. Not that it's good in the source material, but this also sucks. It's downright problematic in the source material at times too, but still, fuck. I also hate this. Sucks so bad. And they end up having a kiss in the dark. Because, of course. The evil lady sidekick disguises herself as Chi-Chi so she can steal Dragon Balls, which she tries to do. She managed to succeed, actually, but ends up getting away because Goku punches the wrong Chi-Chi when Chi-Chi gets in a fight with her in Chi-Chi disguise. Goku also gets shot with a gun, which hurts him, which is not true to the source material at all. Guns don't do anything to Goku. You can't beat him with mere technology. Not until the Android Saga, at least.
I think the best example of this is when the farmer from the original Dragon Ball Z tries to shoot
Raditz, yeah.
what's his face, Raditz, and Raditz just like catches the bullet out of thin air and then flicks it back to
Yeah,
him and
guns
like
don't
just
work
straight
here.
up murders him with his own bullet. Um, I also think that like the dynamic of two clones coming together and like being like no shoot him and no shoot them is fun and comical, and I'd like to see like somebody who has to then a clone who just killed their actual counterpart has to go and spend the rest of their life pretending to be this person that they were impersonating earlier. I think that would be interesting, but like, that's just wishful.
So also they could have used this at moment to introduce Oolong, because Oolong's a shapeshifter and he could have done this too. So that would have been interesting. Although
Yes.
Oolong's a
Yeah.
problematic character in his own right, at least as problematic as Roshi.
Well, like Oolong like is just notoriously like comic relief throughout the whole entire
Yeah,
uh, uh series. I think he was like a villain for like
yeah.
5 minutes where they're like just got into the village and Oolong's terrorizing the villagers, and then they figure out it's just
He's a
this
monster of
pig
the week.
that's transforming into a group of
He's a
bandits or
monster of the
something.
week.
But
They just
yeah,
kind of adopt,
yeah,
as any
definitely.
good
Yeah.
RPG party should.
Hmm.
You got to adopt at least one of the goblins.
And that's literally what
Yep.
Dragon Ball feels like. Like Goku's just wandering around and kind of like, I'm not gonna say like failing his way through like this thing, because like he's well powered to fight the situation that he's handling in these
He
series.
gets to
But
adopt an NPC, like a new friend each arc, I think. Like he's basically had like an argument with like he's basically fought every one of his friends, up to and including his wife and child.
God,
Also God, yeah. A few gods.
yeah, he fights God. He fights Kami on. Oh
Different
yeah, so
levels of
many.
gods by the time
Oh yeah,
everything's done. Yeah.
until he becomes God. This is
Yeah.
basically just God of War.
But you become but more friendly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, less
Somehow,
violent.
oddly enough. This show is pretty violent. This series is pretty violent yet. I mean, God of War is a lot more violent.
I'd like to say that Dragon Ball was pretty like Dragon Ball Z is pretty violent. This is pretty tame, but I mean it's geared towards
I
kids.
mean,
So
like in the original Dragon Ball, like people get like their head chops off and like go like some characters get pretty violently murdered. It just escalates a bit in Z, I
yes,
think.
but like I'm more so comparing it to like Dragon Ball Z, where like Tien gets a whole page of like when Nappa punches his arm off and it's just like a giant blood splurt, like Tien crying out in agony and like holding his decapitated arm as it's falling off, essentially type level of gore that you don't see in Dragon Ball or
Anyway, we're going
Dragon
into
Ball
the
Z. But
finale. They end up fighting Piccolo or whatnot. Roshi tries to Mafuba Piccolo but gets killed. Goku has to go fight Piccolo, and it's at this point that it is revealed that he is the Ozaru, and then Piccolo forces Goku to transform into Ozaru. But Roshi eventually talks him down to get him not to be Ozaru anymore, which isn't how any of that works. Also, Ozaru's in the source material is like a giant kaiju, where in this he's just like a werewolf, which there is some precedent for, but it's just not as impressive. He's just Team Wolf for a couple minutes.
apparently this was supposed to get a sequel. Yeah, apparently they had a
Yeah,
sequel
they had
planned
planned
for
to
this
make
movie.
this a series, but like this didn't make the money they wanted, thank God, and so they didn't make any more. I mean, they say this all the time with anything that can be a franchise,
Okay.
so it's not unusual. So yeah, it's a whole thing. Bulma and Yamcha end up like fighting the sidekick and beating her up eventually. There's some good scenes in, but yeah, it eventually winds up that like Yamcha saves Bulma. Roshi ends up getting killed by Piccolo. The Mafudo doesn't work, and Goku has to fight Piccolo, which is a very, very, very lame fight scene. And it ends up ending when Giku has to do a power of shout, where he harnesses the power of the Ozaru to fight Piccolo, and they do the Kamehameha, which they do wrong. I gotta point this out. They do the Kamehameha wrong. It's just they don't do the hand motions right. They just do whatever they want, and they explicitly say he needs to do something different, which is dumb, and I hate it. They changed it for no reason, because apparently the point of this movie is that he needs to have faith in himself, which is at least consistent, but it's terrible, and I hate it. So yeah, they do a very minor beam struggle which eventually results in Goku flying forward with the beam and charging into Piccolo. Not killing him, just incapacitating him, and then the end credits sequence will be Piccolo getting healed up, which isn't what happened, because in the original where Piccolo was killed, Piccolo just spits out a final like demon egg, which ends up being a like a baby Piccolo, which is the Piccolo we all know and love from Dragon Ball Z, otherwise known as Piccolo Jr., also known as Mr. Piccolo if you want to be friendly. But yeah, it's very dumb. They use the Dragon Balls to wish back Roshi, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, first of all, Shenlong, the dragon they summon with the Dragon Balls, is very lame in this. He's only like a school bus in length, where in the source material, he's like a giant sprawling like sliver of snakes, which like envelops the entire sky. And in this, he's just like a dragon that's flying around and is tiny. It's not nearly as epic. Also, there's two things. First of all, they can just wish back everyone that Piccolo killed. That's a thing they can do. They don't need to just wish back Roshi. That's what they do in the source material. Also, why not use it to resurrect Gohan? They could also do that.
Yeah, that would make sense.
The reason they didn't do that in the original is because Gohan had been dead for years, and there's a time limit on how long you can wait before reviving someone. If you try to revive someone, Shenron can't revive someone who's been dead more than a year.
I don't think that's a rule.
No, it is. Originally, they've changed the in the Android Saga, they end up like upgrading Dragon Balls, where you get 2 wishes, and then what you can do is you can restore someone's body to a freshly dead state, and then use a second wish to bring them back to life. But in this state, at this point in time, where it's just a 1 wish, you would need to like restore someone's bodies back to life, and then you'd wait the year, and then it'd be invalid again, so you can't do it. There are rules for the Dragon Balls, but it's just something you got to be out there.
Yeah, so Shenron, if a person has died of natural causes, the person cannot be returned to life unless by natural disaster or plague. So I don't think that actually like a rule applies where they can bring them back after a year.
No, it's a thing that you can't bring them back. That you can't just like bring them back with a single wish if they've been dead more than a year. Like that's definitely a thing somewhere. Also, like originally, you can't use the Dragon Balls to bring back the same guy twice. Is another thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Which they fix, but that's another story. So yeah, that's really dumb. And then we end the movie with like Goku and Chi-Chi getting into a sparring match because Goku beats his wife. Ding. Yeah. So yeah, that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Movie bad. Final thoughts from you?
One of the reasons why I put this on this, whatchamacallit, on this list is because I think me and a lot of people would agree that, first of all, no manga should be touched as a live-action fucking remake anymore. We've had our times to, play with it. So many of them shit the bed. Death Note, this one, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Well, the American Death Note, the Japanese Death Note's good.
There was another big one that was just done. I can't remember. Anyways, they've been so bad.
I disagree that they never should be made, but it's just like it's market trends that make them bad. It's not like a law of the universe, which is just my point of view. Like they can be good if someone has the proper like motivation and the will. But what do you give the movie, Cody, or do you have something else?
Yeah, I've got really
We
nothing.
talked a lot of it, so
I don't think there was actually like anything that I liked about this movie.
yeah, me too.
Like Goku knocks a bug into his dead grandfather's mouth, and like that was kind of okay.
Eh.
Like that's like about it. But I'm not going to like even really give this a score at this point because it really doesn't deserve it.
I'm giving it the 1, which is my bare minimum, because like that a 1 is okay. That was a story that progressed in a amount of time.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I hate it.
Oh,
It's
yeah, Bleach. The 2018 Bleach movie. It was the one that I was thinking of.
I gotta watch that yet. I kind of want to. I'll see.
By the looks of that poster I just saw of it, I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's on my Netflix eventually. But yeah, no, it's the 99 the UK Avengers movie we reviewed is still worse than this, but this is also a 1. Like it's not as unpleasant as that movie, but that doesn't earn it any points.
I don't know if I would. Like both of those movies were pretty unbearable to watch, so there's that. I think if I was forced to actually sit down and like 100% watch it again, I think I would have probably been a lot more angry. I think I flipped it on in the background of some Tetris playing I was doing, so that made it slightly more bearable.
But anyway, what are we doing next week? We're getting toward the end.
That's a really good question. What are we doing next week?
What did you say you wanted to do last time? You had one that you were talking about. Or do you forget? Because I got a good movie we could watch because we watched a couple bad movies in a row, right? What did we watch before this? What was before this? Oh no, Smoke Signals was good. But if we want to watch something better, I have something better we could watch.
I think that like pretty much anything better than this is like a pretty big glass ceiling. Like there's not.
But I mean, like a good movie though, like a good action movie.
Like, what do we classify as a good action?
Well, you'll have to find out. If when next week we review the 2019 film Lost in the Pandemic, Bloodshot, starring Vin Diesel. How about that? You want to watch that? Bloodshot?
What do you mean by oh? Okay, I don't know where I was going with that Google search there. I just typed 2019 into a Google search. It's gonna write Bloodshot after that.
I just want to remind myself what the life was like before the pandemic, guys.
And it's a 2020
2020
superhero film. Yeah, we can definitely do it.
And then we can remember what you wanted to do for the next week after.
I wanted to do one of the Dread movies.
Oh yeah, Dread. We can do that right after. So that's the April schedule. Bloodshot and then Dread, one of the Dreads. We'll figure out which one. Cody can take his pick. But yeah, follow us on Facebook, like, comment, subscribe. See you next week. Get out.